It's time for the $40 four-wheeler, part 4. Today I'll be showing you the externals of finishing this engine. Let's see what kind of oil pressure we get, what kind of compression we get. Might even light it off and see if it'll sputter for a minute. I'm going to start by removing this 8mm fastener off the top of the valve cover. This is the oil bleed. So you put this here, spin the motor over until you start getting nice juicy oil out of there. You know the oil is bled. So I will do is get my little claw to put on this camera so y'all, bear with me a minute. I know you don't like to see finger up close. See what I can do here. Alright, you watch that, and well, you can't exactly let me know when it starts, but I guess I'll hear it hitting the floor. Spin this over with my little tool. Anything blowing out of there yet? No, not yet. I might not be spinning it fast enough. Let me put a wrench on, a drill on it. It's a drill. First gear, low range. Turn up the torque to max. Oil blowing out yet? Can you tell? Alright, throw a little more speed on it. My drill's not got enough power to it. Oh, why didn't you tell me what oil was blowing out of there? Well, we got oil up to the cylinder head. That's a good thing. Now let's start putting accessories on. Start by reinstalling this plug because we don't need all the oil blowing out of there. Once again, don't fret. I will be doing an oil change and oil filter and all of that. So don't have a fit. The torque setting on this bolt is about there. I'm going to say it's, I think, 12 foot-pounds, 10 foot-pounds, something like that. And let's see, from here we can go to install the intake boot, which is this guy right here. This is what your carburetor mounts to. Let me look and see which way it's supposed to go first. That way I don't steer y'all wrong. I have said carburetor. Intake boot. You can see this notch on the intake boot lines up with the said notch on carburetor. So intake boot goes like this with these thingies to the top. Aftermarket ones, I do not know how they fit. But I do know that this one fits. I have a fresh gasket here. Thread these down a little bit. Grab a power wrench. Alrighty, this is another part of part 4 for the $40 four-wheeler. Ran out of film space on the camera, so having to film a second part. So far we got everything torqued and assembled on the top end. Got the valve cover, We bled through the oil port. Now the objectives are to install the copper gasket in the side of the head here, install the exhaust out through the back. We're going to spray a little bit of Juju in this intake boot, install a spark plug, and find out if it pops over. Throw a little power at it if it wants to start. If it does that, then I will see how that carburetor looks, rebuild that. I'll include that in this series, but it will also be in another video to where I show how to recondition a carburetor just to make it good enough to run. I think that's going to be today's objectives. May do a little more, may do a little less. We'll see how things go. But as for now, let me start getting things prepped, and I will get right back. I did neglect to mention this engine mount here on the back of the motor. These are 12mm bolts. They're about 1 inch long or so. Just snug these up nicely. I do not know the torque spec for them. I'm sorry. I'll tighten those up a little tighter in a minute. This copper washer here is the gasket for the exhaust. It just rests in there, and as you tighten the exhaust up, it flattens it out. I'm going to wipe all this oil off of here so it doesn't smoke like crazy when I first start it, and get the hardware together. But I will show you the parts we are looking at. This is the actual header. This flange here presses up on the stud, and there's one I got a thread in on the other side. Runs all the way along, like so. Actually, yeah, like this. Gonna fit in there about like that. You have this heat shield that sits on top of it, which somebody painted. That's gonna burn off. And then you have the actual muffler that fits on the back. You want to make sure it's not all choked up and nasty inside. Sometimes these will fill up with soot and dirt, and then they are useless. But it's a good idea to have this stuff installed before you try starting the motor. That way it's not blowing fire out if it's running bad. But let me see about throwing this stuff together, and I'll be back with you in a minute. Alright, got that hardware together. Here are your exhaust stud bolts. These are 12mm on the outside here. This one came out of the motor with the stud. The stud is supposed to be in here just like that one. It's just simple as you just thread it in like a bolt. I mean, they come out sometimes. It's better for it to come out like this than to break off in the head, which they do that. And that is not pleasant to get undone. To install this here header pipe, you simply slide her on in. Such. Do need to install that gasket first. She just sits in there like so. You're close enough. Throw this one through its little hole. Gonna halfway thread her in there. Alrighty. Thread this one on a little bit. And leave this loose for now, because I still have to attach the muffler. The muffler, you got to come from the other side. If you excuse the clicking. Alrighty. You see I have the header connected up here with the bolts. Comes around, feeds through this section of the frame. It's going to sit more about up a little bit, kind of floating here. Now the muffler here, let's see, has these two flange bolts here. These rest up in here on these two studs. And then the back of it, of course, is going to connect up to the back of the header pipe right here. Let me find those two bolts, or the two nuts that go on here, and I will be right back. Alrighty, sorry if it's a little dark. I don't have a light to get under here with. But we're under here. I found the bolts. or the nuts thereof. Kind of see them there. These are also 12 millimeters. As simple as you grab your muffler, which has got a little bit of weight to it, because they're gonna muffle these things down somehow. Slip her down over that exhaust, and then on its little studs. If you can't see anything, sorry. Can't really see anything either. Kind of doing this one by feel here. And getting there, I think, maybe. I am watching a spider crawl very close to my hand. That's not acceptable. I'm gonna have to kill him. Nasty spider. I think it was Save a Spider Day yesterday or something like that. Did my due. I didn't kill any spiders yesterday, but today all bets are off. I see a spider, it will go squish. There, you can see me putting this one in the dark. There, it's in there decently firm. 12 millimeter socket. I may have to use an extension to get to these. These you can snug up nice and tight. This thing mounts in a central location. It doesn't have slots in it where it can move around any. They're just holes these bolts fit through, and that is all. Now this one, if you can see it down here, this connection to where it connects with the header, leave that one loose until you have the header tightened up. And you want these to be relatively snug because this is going to have a lot of vibration through it from that engine running. Alright, they're nice and snug. Now we can go back to the header pipe. As you can see, just barely rests just outside of that frame rail there. Mind the clicking. I'm going to get my little claw to grab this handlebar again so y'all can see what I'm doing. A little bit more. Alrighty. Now y'all can see what I'm doing. I think I can see what I'm doing. And I hope I know what I'm doing. Got to get an extension. Alrighty then. Alright kids, today's lesson. Don't ever let people borrow your tools. My 1/4" extension got borrowed and I have no idea where it is now. And that is frustrating. Take this extension off, get me a little more torque to it. These are going to go nice and snug too because you have to crush that copper washer there. So these, I don't know what the foot-pounds are. It's probably going to be like 27, 34, something like that. It's not an insane amount, but you do have to crush the washer. That's pretty snug. Walk that off, move back over to this one. Give her a little shake, see if she wiggles any, which she does not. One more final snug. See, that one's a little loose. This one, another wiggle. That one's nice and snug. Another shake. Seems pretty tight. Now, if you mind the clicking once more, we will go down here to this said bolt where they connect. Tighten that one up, which something is already extra tight on it, so I guess that's it, because that one's all seized. So I have to get a screw clamp around there, try and tighten that up. But now I'm going to get the heat shield, this piece, and install over this header pipe, and I will get back to you in a second when I have those fasteners. Okay, that whole bit about me telling you to put this on first, don't listen to that. My friendly tip of the day, this goes on the pipe before you install it on the bike. Remember that, pipe, then the bike. So I'm going to loosen all this back up and install this, and then we'll get on. Alrighty, had to pull the muffler off, but I should have enough wiggle room now to get the heat shield on. Alrighty, yay! Maybe. Hopefully. Maybe not. Nope, it's gonna be a pain. I'm gonna pull the whole header off too. Alrighty then. I will be back in a second. Alright, header, heat shield. We do need some adjustment. One of these fighters. The little clips on this thing are mobile, and so they got moved around. So now it's a matter of figuring out how it goes back together before you actually put it back together. So this one here goes slightly more that way. This one goes slightly this way. Now she may go together. Ta-ta. Heat shield installed. Now comes the fun part of finding the fasteners for this. I will get back to you once I have found those fasteners and installed them. Alright, your second tip of the day is have lots of baling wire, because parts bikes and project bikes never come with all the fasteners you need. So you may get baling wire and make the fasteners. I had 2 of the ones I needed. That came out of my parts bin and it broke off inside. So now, to eliminate a potential rattle, I baling wired it. Your third free tip of the day is have a bin full of bolts that are common in ATVs. Real good things to have. Now that the heat shield is on, I can work on fishing it back through. So please excuse the clicking once again. Click, click, click. Alrighty then. Header once again. Fit down and yaw. I'm gonna fight it through here, which is why they have this fender over here unfastened. Get through that space. Well, maybe not. There it goes. It's gotta fit underneath this fender brace here. There it is. Then we go up to our gasket, which is already mostly flattened, which is a good thing. Install that piece. Install this other bolt. You've seen me do this again, so I'm going to skip ahead here. Yeah, with the heat shielding on, socket doesn't fit in there well. So gear wrench to the rescue. I've got these fancy flexi ones too. Alright, here we go. Now, mind the clicking. For the overview of part, was this 4? Yeah, part 4. We have installed the exhaust system. The top end is ready to go. And I know you're going to hate to hear it, but for the next part, we will be installing a spark plug, installing the spark plug wire, and trying to test fire. I'm going to hook up a jump box to the battery leads, turn that key, press this here button, and see if something happens. Hopefully it'll be good. But as for now, if you like my videos, please comment, rate, and subscribe, and have an awesome day.